Okay, look. There's a lot to talk about and unpack about this. So I'm going to try and keep this succinct, and I'll be playing the video. I'll be pausing halfway through. It's just sit down. It's about TYT, okay? It is. But I think there's a lot of things that people aren't remembering about the Young Turks and everything about it, okay? Because it's bigger than just Cenk and Francesca and the little fight that's happening between them. Because this is talking about the climate and the aftermath of 2020, and especially with the great war that happened between Jimmy Dore and TYT. Because this is something that myself and Daniel, we have talked about in the aftermath of that war, of what's going to happen to TYT and the vote blue no matter whose sphere, especially during the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration. Because you have to remember, as soon as Trump was gone, a lot of those glorified parades stopped. The pink pussy hats, shriveled away. And so then there was this talk of, okay, well, Biden's in. I think we could rest on our laurels. But there was also some problems, okay? Because TYT, during the 4 years of the first Trump administration, just like corporate media and everybody else who was in the vote blue no matter whose sphere, really profited off of Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, one of the credits that Donald Trump should be known for is that he was the biggest job producer in the vote blue no matter who industrial complex. And a lot of people made a lot of moolah. As soon as he was gone, did you notice that there was a downfall in viewership? There was a slow decline, Okay, there was the uptick in 2024 because Trump was running again, but there was that decline. There was just, Biden's in. We got to hold his feet to the fire. This, that. But then there was also the pushback against the woke culture, the downfall of Hollywood, the pushback against cancel culture, the failure of organizations like Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Our Revolution, DSA, Me Too, Time's Up, Black Lives Matter. I mean, a lot of these organizations were being exposed. I mean, it was all crashing down in 2024, as the great prophet Cat Williams once said, all lies will be exposed, and he was correct, and it still matters even in 2025.
All lies will be exposed.
And it led to a shift, especially in 2024, because the temperature, the air changed, the environment changed. And Cenk, who ostracized a lot of progressives and independents, also realized that the Democrats were a sinking ship. There's no doubt about it. Of course, remember, this is the same Cenk Uygur who took that Katzenberg cash, that cash money. Now, I stopped watching and supporting TYT in 2016. And yes, I used to be a member of Wolfpack too. I had to quit that as soon as Cenk gave his endorsement to Hillary Clinton, and saying, we got to stop Trump. I mean, Wolfpack is an organization to get money out of politics, and its founder is already breaking its principles. And I believe in principles. I at least believe in consistency. And so there's been a tone and shift and change in regards to how the hosts of TYT were talking about current events and politics and certain things that also happened. And there's been the great divide, the great inner circle shooting that's happening between TYT, Majority Report. I think the Vanguard's kind of involved in this a little bit. Like everybody's fighting everybody. Now, I mean the popcorn enjoying it, but everything came to a head over the weekend when Francesca Fiorentini, I think I said her name right, was finally fired from TYT. She was let go real quick, real fast. So what exactly happened? Well, hold on. let's just start from March 26th, okay? Because this matters. This matters, okay? And this is from her X account, but she says she is on Blue Sky. So why are you here? Like, why are you here? Breaking: Cenk has announced I am no longer allowed to appear on the damage report with John Iadarola based on disagreements with TYT's main host. And yes, calling Cenk a biatch for engaging with Dr. Phil. How do you know me? A guy who's joining ICE raids on innocent people. To be clear here, to give a little caveat on that, they were going after criminals or people with criminal warrants. And yes, we all know Tom Homan wants to expand that to go after now nonviolent migrants. So everybody's being rounded up, but here we go. It's been a good it's been a good over 10-year run at TYT, the Young Turks. But indeed, it's time for both of us to move on. There's too much at stake. There are still many good people at TYT. Sadly, they're not in charge. And fewer women, people of color, and trans people smell you later. Well, wait a minute, hold on. Because we've done clips and talked about TYT's had very diverse co-hosts and people there. Not defending them. Okay, you sure about that? Cenk is still doing a 20-minute, very Kasparian takedown of me to their 6 million subscribers. Anyway, I've got a fraction of that, making a fraction of the money. Alas, the Frantifa. What? That's a dumb name. The Frantifa? That is, you could come up with a better name than that. Alas, the Frantifa is strong. Holler at your girl, her YouTube channel, The Bituation Room. And Cenk, like an idiot, decides to respond. I don't mind anyone disagreeing with me after they know the actual facts. Watch the actual clip instead of believing what people tell you about it, most of whom haven't seen it. If you still disagree or hate it, no problem. To which again, nah, watch this clip. Feels like maybe they should just sit down and have a beer, huh? So this has to deal with the fact that Cenk had a sit down with Charlie Kirk, and he's talking to other conservatives and people, which Cenk, in his weird way, is trying to fix TYT's image because they realize that they're hemorrhaging views. The Katzenberg cash dried up, and everything that we predicted, saying that, yeah, TYT and all these other channels are going to be collapsing in on themselves because of the Trump derangement syndrome, their association with the Democrats, constantly carrying water for the Democrats, standing up against force of vote, standing up against a March for Medicare for All, was all going to come after them. And I know right now, since corporate media and CNN are hemorrhaging views and people are looking for greener pastures, all these other vote blue no matter who channels like TYT or Majority Report, everybody else right now, they do look like that shiny new field. But see, the thing is, they're still going to try and sheepdog you into the Democrats or say, oh, we got to stop Trump. Are they ever going to tell you the real fact that it's all one big club and that you ain't in it? And that the reason why Trump exists is because of Democrat failures and that AOC and Bernie don't have the spine, the soul, or the heart to even fight back? No, they probably won't. So here's her response to it. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. So here's Francesca's perspective. And on one hand, I could kind of understand where she's coming from, just a little bit. But on the other hand, it's like TYT is a business, and if you're going to constantly be antagonizing the boss, doing this and that, we ain't going to let go. Like it's one or the other. But let's hear her side.
You know when you meet someone and they swear that all of their exes were psychos, and then you slowly realize that, oh wait, I'm talking to the person who was the problem in the relationship. Unrelatedly, the Young Turks. And I'm going to make this as brief as possible because there are a million far more important and pressing things going on right now. As you know, actual fascism. But to make it brief, Cenk Uygur, the head of TYT, recently hath forboten me from appearing on any TYT shows because in part, I said that him capitulating to right-wing framing on many issues meant he was, quote, acting like a bitch. And the truth is, he was. And I'll explain that a little bit later. But first, some backstory. So I have been a contractor at TYT for 10 years now, appearing on all of the shows as a fill-in host, as a
Salty digital dive. Get up. Go see the White House counselor. Why is my live stream chat so mean? Where did you learn to be so mean, my audience? We learned it from you, Kit. We learned it from watching you.
A guest host during election coverage, on the TYT main show, on the Damage Report, and on Indisputable, along with a lot of other shows. I have always hopped on at the last minute, always helped out in a pinch. I guest host last minute, and yes, I was paid. And if you're watching this and you are a TYT contributor and you are not getting paid, stop going on TYT until you do. I've never been a full-time employee, never got healthcare, never got maternity leave when I had my child. But back in 2018, I was hired for a 6-month contract to pilot a show for $3,000 a month. Then, however, their funding bottomed out and I was let go. And they broke their contract. My reps at the time thought I should sue to get the full 6 months of payment and work that I was owed, but I didn't because I told them that TYT was good people and I wanted to maintain my relationship, and I did. That is until things started to turn for TYT.
Look, yes, things did start to turn for TYT, especially after the Katzenberg cash. That was the beginning. That's when I knew TYT is officially sold out. And again, shout out to the people who really did leave way early on.
politically. And this started happening around the pandemic. Around the pandemic, Anna Kasparian seemed to become focused on the issue of homelessness, especially in a city that I used to call home, which is San Francisco. She had an objectively scary experience with an unhoused person, and in fact, I went back to see when she told her audience about this. And I do remember the day that Anna told the story on air. In fact, I was also on after she told that story, but I didn't hear it at the time. It was within an interview that she was doing with an author by the name of Michael Schellenberger, who had written the book San Francisco: Why Progressives Are Ruining Cities. Instead of focusing on housing market prices, on how homelessness often
I'm going to pause here. It's not because of progressives ruining cities. It's because of neoliberal Democrats that are ruining cities. It's because of their policies. It's because of their failures. I mean, as somebody who lives in a quote unquote Democrat city, progressive policies here. I mean, until I see something, no, there is none of that here. The people of Chicago are being taxed out. Mental health facilities have been shut down. Schools are struggling. The roads are falling apart. Downtown Chicago is an embarrassment, especially on State Street and Michigan Avenue, where you have these big buildings and retail spaces still locked up, boarded up because everything's so expensive. Mayor Brandon Johnson's approval rating is an all-time low. I mean, it's because of neoliberal corporatist policies. We don't have a voice here. And before anyone says, oh, well, Chicagoans voted for it, Chicago has been consistently having one thing that's very shocking: low voter turnout. There was only one small uptick and that was in 2024. And what was interesting to see is that for the first time ever in the city, 2 districts were red. That's never happened before. Not in my great-grandfather's time, not in my grandfather's time, not in my time, not in my mother's time, but happened during my time at the age of 40. So 4 generations living in this city. That's the first time that's ever happened. So voter turnout is an abysmal low here in this city. It's because of neoliberal policies, corporatist policies, not progressive policies. Just throwing it out there.
Often leads to things like addiction and mental illness. Schellenberger focuses on Democrats who thinks go too easy on the unhoused. I remember that I jumped onto the show right after he got off, after that interview. And the TYT audience was really pissed because they felt like the framing and the platforming of someone like Schellenberger was a disservice to the issue of homelessness, mental illness, and addiction. Anna apparently took that as the chat downplaying what happened to her rather than how the issues were presented. She's since gone on right-wing shows like Glenn Beck, Piers Morgan, and Jillian Michaels, among others, to retell this story.
First of all, what happened to Anna Kasparian was definitely, I find that to be very horrific and very frightening. Okay, that is something no one should go through. But on the other hand, too, going on other people's shows. All right, so she's telling that experience, but also when you're in the media space and if you're very serious, you do have to show up on other people's shows. I've showed up on Larry Sharp's show, who's the libertarian, and I've showed up on a few other people's shows who are conservative. That just happens. You speak with people. I've had different people across the political spectrum on my show, and there's no harm, no foul to that. Unless you're saying we just don't talk to these people, period, then you're in your bubble. You're in your safe space. That's stupid. That's dumb. Life isn't a liberal arts college campus. You got to get out your bubble.
And use it as rationale for why she feels the left left her, that maybe she's never been left, why she's politically homeless or, politically unhoused. Since then, she's gone.
I'm politically homeless. There. Just to trigger the libs. I'm politically homeless.
Gone on to cover critical stories from a right-wing framing, like the alleged takeovers of buildings by Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado, like the mentally ill, undocumented man in Los Angeles who was found lighting fires, but who was not responsible for the wildfires themselves in January. Throwing progressive mayors like Brandon Johnson of Chicago under the bus because
yes, throw that. Listen, Mayor Brandon Johnson is an absolute clown. Let me be clear on this, folks. And look at me. When the people of this city hate you more than Lori Lightfoot, you are an all-star professional fool, and you should not be in the realm of politics. Mayor Brandon Johnson started from a high and, whoa, went past faster and lower than Lori Lightfoot. Like, you got to be a moron to get those kind of numbers. You got to be an idiot, and you don't know what you're doing. I mean, his coalition that he had is now gone. I thought Lori Lightfoot was bad, but my goodness. Mayor Brandon Johnson took the belt. He took the belt away from her. Steel chair to the head, threw her out the ring, got the belt, put it around his waist, and said, I'm the worst mayor. And that's where he's at because of his failed policies. There's nothing great about Mayor Brandon Johnson. By the way, speaking about the DNC convention, did you know that during the DNC convention, Mayor Brandon Johnson's policies, you want to know what he was doing? Oh, that's right. Displacing homeless people. Removing homeless people from homeless shelters. We talked about that on the show. Do we want to talk about how Mayor Brandon Johnson was being confronted in City Hall by black voters? Dare I say, a lot of voters. And you know what Mayor Brandon Johnson did? He made sure that people weren't going to be speaking out, but thankfully people are still pushing back. People are still screaming out and yelling and challenging Mayor Brandon Johnson. 2027 is going to be a very interesting election year. So, yeah. Don't give me that sad face. Mayor Brandon Johnson's a failure. This isn't open up for a discussion or a polite conversation. The man's a clown.
Because he listens to teachers too much. Anna's actually really skilled at what she does. So the laziness with which she treats these stories really just stands out all the more. Let me give you some backstory, though, of Anna and my friendship. We've never been close, despite a hike, a dinner, and the time that she...
That looked edited. Wait, that looked edited.
Anna's actually really skilled at what she does. So the laziness with which she treats these stories really just stands out all the more. Let me give you some backstory, though, of Anna and my friendship. We've never been close, despite a hike, a dinner.
Yeah! It looks edited! Oh, you gotta catch it! That looks edited. Hold on.
Teachers too much. Anna's actually really skilled at what she does. So the laziness with which she treats these stories really just stands out all the more. Let me give you some backstory, though, of Anna and my friendship. We've never been close, despite a hike, a dinner, and the time that she...
I caught three of them. I caught three. It's very quick. It's like it's so lightning fast. Why? Because I do some editing too.
He generously gave me a gift for my new baby and then explained to me that she was going to debate Ben Shapiro because, in her words, she, quote, felt she could win over his audience. Two moments with Anna stand out for me in terms of how I've always treated her. In 2016, I was working with AJ Plus and we were at the RNC. I had just started going on TYT a little bit and meeting everyone. And TYT was there and Anna was there and she was frustrated because she hadn't been booked on many appearances on camera. And instead, a panel of men mostly clogged up the day. I stood next to her and told her how annoying that was and just tried to build her up in solidarity. Then in 2019, we went out to lunch in Los Angeles at an awesome spot that she knew of. And Anna confided to me that she was frustrated about leadership at TYT, how she wasn't involved in day-to-day decision-making, and how Cenk viewed her more as a kid sister rather than a co-equal partner. And at the time, she wanted to branch out on her own and do videos on a new channel. I implored her at that moment to stay.
Hold on. Professor Kit here. Wait a minute, Francesca, hold on. Because if that's the case, so are you saying that the reason why Anna Kasparian rose up high in TYT because of your encouragement? Like, not defending Anna, because I find especially that in 2020 when I think what she made that message that Jimmy Dore talked about, like, talking about the new skirt or whatever. I find that to be pretty reprehensible on Anna's part. But are you telling me, Francesca, the reason why Anna rose up is because you gave her that cheerlead pep talk, like, woo, you could do it? I mean, come on. I smell a little bull here. I smell a lot of bull here. I don't think so. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. Me and Anna. Well, gee, if you weren't close, why'd you go out to lunch? Because it seems like you are kind of close. That makes no sense. I'm calling bull. And my portal gun's trying to evaporate me. I see it. I saw what happened. It tried to almost evaporate me. There you go.
I said that it's always women that tend to walk away from organizations, even when they've helped build them up to the point that they're at. I told her to fight for more of a decision-making role and to not walk away. And she did. And it looks like the editorial decisions that we see being made at TYT are in part because she now has the reins. In a way,
So you create a monster. It's all your fault. It's all your fault.
I'm proud of her, even if I don't like the coverage. In November of last year, in an effort to understand where Anna was coming from and why she was doing what she was doing, I invited her to come on my show, The Bituation Room. She agreed, but also told me that she had a family emergency that sounded bad, and I told her to not worry and that we would find a time in the new year. That week, she went on Glenn Beck's show, and it kind of puzzled me, to be honest. She obviously now is likely not going to come on my show, in part because Cenk did. And I wanted to talk to him about his own very cordial conversations with the right since the election or re-election of Donald Trump, in which he tells various figures from Charlie Kirk to Patrick Bet-David to Tim Pool to RFK Jr. lover, again, Jillian Michaels, about how he agrees that the left is often cruel and
Yeah. Oh, no. It's not the left. It was the giant gatekeepers like TYT, which you were a part of, especially in 2020, that helped, end forced to vote. March for Medicare for all. Like, we're against it, right? Any kind of real challenge against the Democrats. Because under the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, oh, heaven forbid that you ask the Democrats to be accountable for anything. I mean, there was a lot of gatekeeping. And I think that was the environment that TYT and everybody else of authority and influence and those associated are more than happy to do. Because remember, Cenk did get that Katzenberg cash money, okay? Stuff like that ain't cheap. And everyone was happy to play along. Everybody was happy to be part of it until they realized, oh, you might not be getting a slice of the pie. Unfortunately, that's how things work, regrettably, And the thing is, TYT, especially getting connected to the Democrats and getting that Katzenberg cash way back in 2016 and then going onwards, especially jumping on the Biden-Harris wagon. I mean, it was all destined to fail. And now everyone's kind of changing their tune because they're realizing what worked for the last 8 years ain't working because the thing is, the Democrats failed to deliver. It's very clear that there's no resuscitating a dead brand, but now people are now being called out for their hypocrisy, like TYT and everybody else. So I'm not really expecting much from this. It's just more of that internet drama, but it's interesting how things come crashing down. I think we should leave this with the final words of Fat Tony himself, Janky himself. And somewhere out there, I can hear Jimmy Dore laughing. I'm so proud to be hated by the radical left, but I thought you were leftist, Cenk. Not based on policy, but based on attitude. There are plenty of our viewers and hosts who are way to the left of me on issues. I actually love that exchange of ideas. It's the radical mindset that's so toxic, and it's true for radicals on either end of the spectrum. Here are their rules. Number one, you must hate the other side, which is what you've done to Jimmy and everybody else was forced to vote, Cenk. I mean, you're calling yourself out here. Two, you must have a completely closed mind. I remember during those last 8 years, you just did not want to talk to Trump people. And you were Trump derangement syndrome. Okay. Don't ever waver from your orthodoxy or use your own judgment. Three, you must be pure. You must be pure. They're right to hate me on those grounds. Don't make yourself out to be a martyr. I can't stand that way of thinking. I refuse to close my mind. I refuse to hate the other side. And I'm proud to use my own judgment. No, you were happy to get that Katzenberg cash, baby. If you demand that I agree with everything you think, you'll be waiting for a long time. If you want to fight over that, I'm right here, Hoss. I remember when you threatened to fight Joe Rogan. All of it's clownish behavior. And the implosion at TYT, it's pure gold. But what are your thoughts on it? Type your thoughts in the comment section below. Let us know how you feel.
calling every foe synthetic leftist and progressive lover. Summoning the simps of all the squad-adjacent opportunist, two-faced cop-suckers. Paging every Democratic yes-man, in possession of a smoother brain than those who hide behind Biden's stutter. Welcome to the super edgy independent news you can trust when we say we don't sell our standards out like all the others. Trust us when we tell you that we're looking out for working class America, holding all the powerful accountable. Trust us when we tell you that a host of vital truths are being covered, when honestly the truth is being smothered by a couple disingenuous hacks sent to act in bad faith by Big Brother, who start smearing every journalist who bears the credibility they covet from their gilded fucking neoliberal centerpiece. Air out all their jealousy and spite like it might yield them some validity, or paint a coat of pity over all of their acidity. But they've been busy cozied up to every war pig living between here and the infinity. Albright, Biden, Obama, God, that's gotta take the fucking trophy for unholiest of trinities. So I hope you didn't come to witness anything resembling integrity. That's been long abandoned. Now we see integrity as often as Atlantis. Now they only toe the line and read what they've been handed. Safe to say if Cenk sunk any lower, he'd be deeper than the Marianas. TYT will tell you how opinions aren't the facts unless they're Cenk Serranas. Since they chose to make a living out of licking boots and shilling, you can bet they make a killing. TYT is proud to say they traded all their spines away to empty out the till and tell themselves it's decent work and it's an honest tilling. Well, me, I see they found a way to rape the willing. Me, I read between the lines, and in the script I see the signs that those who fund their message down to every filthy dime would gladly bleed a human sea if it prevents a drop of oil spilling. And yet somehow they portray themselves the heart of the progressive movement. The loudest voices calling for some unity with those who built careers around destroying unions. Which might be true, since unity is something truly useless and symbolic, like a stale communion. Tasteless as the times they tried to fight back smiles smearing Julian. And I hope Cenk and Anna listen up and listen well. You will never be a fraction of the journalist Assange has been, even from his cell. All the filth you spread around, you spread it on yourself. That's my time. Fuck you twice. See you both in hell.